Okay, as you're letting your tin dry, you do want to, well, I'm going to, but gesso some of the pieces if you want to add a little bit of dimension. So again, this is the Locket book from Ideology that I chose for this project, and this little locket, which is adorable, has this folded piece of paper like a booklet in it. What I'm going to do is apply some gesso to it because I think I'm going to distress it a little bit. So again, it's one of those things, gesso will add a really good texture to your metal project, your metal piece. So I am going to gesso those. And then also from Ideology, I think I'm going to use some of these swivel clasps, and I think I'm going to use this small one. So I might add a little bit of paint to it or paste. So I'm just going to go ahead and gesso that up as well and let that dry. I love these little pearl baubles from Tim Holtz. I think I might add a few of those. I'm not sure if I'm going to gesso that. So the main gist of it is gesso any metal piece, even if it's wood, it doesn't hurt to do it, is to go ahead and put some gesso on it and let it dry. My tin is still drying, so I am going to show you how I made the mat with the stamped image on it. Ew. Which one? I ended up with an extra one. Oh, mini art stones. There you go. So let me move this out of the way. And let me get some cardstock here. I'm just going to grab a few pieces from my scraps if I have them. I'm going to go ahead and use black and my paper trimmer. Get my paper trimmer here. So the front piece that I use to stamp my image on is 2 1/4 by 3 5/8. I'm just going to two and a quarter by 3 5/8, and I did round the corners, so you may want to go ahead and do that as well. And where's my stamping platform? Starting to build a big pile of craft supplies for this project. Let me get that out. So place your, oh, I'm off camera. I know I am. Sorry. Let me get back on camera here. I am hoping that you all can see what I'm doing here. Situated here so you can see what I'm doing. There you go. So whatever stamp platform or block that you're using, you kind of want to center your stamp item, your stamped image, your stamp there on it. I'm eyeballing, and let me step away for a second because I forgot to get my Versamark. So I am using Versamark for this project. So once you have it centered where you like, you can fold your platform lid down and press on it so that you get that back. I am going to use my little duster pad and just dust over this so that the embossing powder will slide off any places that I don't want it. Then I am going to apply my Versamark onto my stamp. Make sure it's on there really, really good, so you get everything when you do your embossing. Okay, once you're satisfied, you're just going to bring that down and press really well so you can get the whole image. Okay, and if everything looks well, then you can carefully, yeah, that looks fine. Move this out of the way. You can get your embossing powder. This powder, I believe I got, is from Stampin' Up. Coat your piece really well. I got this tip from Christina Werner, and I just take I think Jennifer McGuire also, but it really helps to make sure you have no embossing powder when you put the heat gun on there. Well, I'm just making sure I don't have any flecks of the embossing powder where I don't want it. Okay, one more tap. Then you want to go ahead and get your heat gun out. Done with that. And usually make sure it's nice and warm. And it comes to life. Okay, if you're happy with that, then you are good to go. And let that cool, and then you round your corners, or you could have rounded your corners before. I usually don't do that because if for some reason I need to be a little bit more centered, I can see where I am before the paper is rounded, the corners are rounded. Okay. Done with that. So let's go ahead and do our papers from our designer paper. So for the back of my tin, I am going to use a motif, this motif right here, and then I think I'm going to make my booklet from this piece for the inside of my tin. So I'm just going to go in here with my paper trimmer, and right now all I want to do is isolate that one image off the sheet of 12 by 12. So I'm going to try to salvage some of those raw edges and get that one image off. Just lining up my trimmer blade right into this area right here, because I kind of like to preserve it as much as possible, even though I may cut it away. But I'm looking at the other parts of the motif that I'm going to want to save for another project, so that's why I'm being really meticulous about it. Okay. And then one last cut to get it cut away. Okay. So then what you want to do is just decide where you're going, how much you're going to use, right? So I know there's a train on here and I'm going to cut some of it off, but I really like the lady. So I really don't care if I cut off some of the train for this, because I could also add some more embellishments to hide that through some fussy cutting. So what I am going to do is cut this down to the 3 5/8. Which in fact, this is all of the train that I cut off, right? And then I think I'm going to cut around some of that border as well. Now, I think I am going to see about getting all of this off. Blade is really old. Another trick I learned along the way is you take a emery board, you can get those little feathered pieces of paper and you get a nice straight edge again. Let me see where I'm at. Okay, I'm kind of liking that right now. So to add a little bit of dimension, I am going to take some black soot, distress ink, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of the black in the image, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of dimension with that black soot on those edges. Kind of masks any of those white parts of the paper, the core parts that you might have in your paper. And I like the way that looks actually. It mixes well with the brown tones inside of the image. Okay, so you're prepped for that. You're prepped for this, and I think that's cool enough. I used my crocodile. I used the 1/2 inch. Or the the 1/2 inch side. You can choose to use a different punch, but I am going to stick with the round. The reason why I stuck with the round too is it closely matches the tin, the round part of the tin. So the 1/2 inch works perfect. So that is prepped and ready to go. The other thing that we can do while our gesso is drying on our pieces is we can start the whole process of how do you get the beads on the ribbon. So what I did for that is you fold the ribbon, or you make sure your ends meet. Okay, ends are meeting. And then just depending on which beads you want on top and what bead you want on bottom, so you can do the small with the big on top or the big with the small on top. I am going to go big and you can twist it If you're using cording, this would be a whole lot easier, but I like the ribbon. And so if you're patient and you just feed that through your bead hole, you can also use one of your tools to help guide it into the hole. There it goes. And just give yourself enough, but don't let it slide all the way off, because we're going to feed it through. So we're not going to tie it off so it's stationary. We're just going to feed it through. This one's going to be a little tight, I know, because the hole is much smaller. So with some good eyes, and I saw it here a minute ago, I had a piece of wire. I don't see it right now. You can thread it through. So you want to go ahead and do that, and then we'll be ready. Hopefully our gesso is dried.